Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Conlin. Welcome to our live stream from Los Angeles Magazine. Sorry that I'm a minute late. We were having some technical issues with Geragos getting connected to StreamYard, but he will be here any minute. And I had a conversation with him this morning because I wanted to run a bunch of stuff by him when it came to what we've been hearing this week inside the courtroom for the Luigi Mangione suppression hearings. And my initial take, and I guess, I need to slow my roll a little bit, but I was like, Mark, this is very, very repetitive. We are seemingly just watching a lot of body cam footage from many different angles. Multiple officers on the scene. We're seeing camera footage from them. The next witness is another officer, and we're seeing that footage. So it's just been a lot. Let me just check on Mark and them, and I'll talk to the chat. Hi, Sal. Hi, Cindy. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Yeah, hopefully he'll jump on any second. I think we should be good. But yeah, so he had a lot to say, and I wasn't expecting it, I guess, because I just don't think like a lawyer. That's why he's a lawyer and I am not. So I'll let him go over all of the things that he was discussing with me when it came to his thoughts on why we're seeing all this. And also, it's the hearing itself is going into next week. And I think we're on witness. We finished our 6th witness yesterday. And the state said they have 28 witnesses to call. So I can't imagine, because they are going, like the other day, they had one witness on for the full day. I got to text them. This is crazy. Let me see. Sorry, guys, you are witnessing tech issues live. Are we good? People do have issues with StreamYard sometimes. I don't know why. I never have personally, but I've definitely heard of other people having issues. I want to pull up, maybe while we're waiting, I do want to pull up some evidence that was unsealed. Let's see. Because I haven't gone through this. I'll make myself a little bigger. All right. So, and this was, by the way, this was kind of a thing the other day. So the defense stood up at the end of the day. I think it was on Tuesday, and they said, Your Honor, we want to make sure that all of the exhibits that we have seen so far, and mainly it was the body cam footage, I believe, they wanted to make sure that it was sealed to the media, sealed to the press, because they were afraid if it got out, it would prevent Luigi from getting a fair trial. Potential jurors could see it. People could make their own interpretations, etc. And the judge was like, yeah, cool, no problem. I'll have it sealed until the trial. And a lady, I don't remember what outlet she was from. I think maybe it was CBS. I can't recall, but she stood up because normally someone in the press has a chance to argue this. And there's case law, citing this as well. So she stood up, and it was a whole thing because the court guards were like, excuse me, this is not an open discussion. Like, sit back down. And she didn't sit back down. And by the way, she was so small, like such a tiny person. And you'll see why I'm saying this. But anyway, she kept, she stood right up, and she was like, kept going. And she was like, and she was sort of, going to say her piece, like, and probably quote some case law that why she should be able to argue. And before she could do that, like 4 court guards were like, nope, you're out of here. Get your ish and get out. So they kind of hovered over her while she was packing up, and then 4 guys ushered her out, the court guards. So Matthew Russell from Inner City Press, he filed a motion on Wednesday, I believe, to be heard, cited the case law, and then we came in, or basically when court ended yesterday, the judge said, and by the way, you should be getting the media should be getting a Dropbox with certain exhibits that have been unsealed. So that was my long story short. Or I guess my my long story long, if you will. But we do have some of the exhibits, including the 911 call, which I did post. It's on the LA Mag X page, and it's actually on the Instagram as well, and on mine, and I put it up on the YouTube. So that's about 5 minutes long. They also have the entire, I don't want to put this anywhere, but they have the entire incident as well, the actual shooting. We had to watch that 3 times or so in court, and it was a lot. It was a lot. First time here. Why is the format different? Is it on my end? Not. So there's a new option on StreamYard where there's the landscape, which is normal, and then there's the vertical. So it says on StreamYard like we should do both. So I put both, but there are 2 options if you want to switch to the other one to do landscape. That might be better for you. So this looks interesting. Do I believe a lot of it will actually be inadmissible? My opinion. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm observing. Oh, wait, Mark's here. Yay. Let me get this off the screen too.
I think I'm on. I think I'm also. How's that for me setting up my own studio?
He's going to get his
How's that?
Right now we've got a great view of his thumb.
Is that better?
I can't hear you, Mark.
Okay, let's
Unmute.
How's that?
It's so weird. You know what? Let me take out my headphones since this is the problem. Let's see. Talk now.
How are you?
You guys hear Mark? Oh, what? So that's so weird. Well, then that was me here. Okay. Try now.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Perfect. Yes, we have the issues. Okay. So, Geragos, because you have limited time, you are the busiest man.
Do.
Yes, busiest man ever. A couple things. And I can get into this after. Somebody asked if I believe any of this evidence will actually be inadmissible. I think that's a loaded question. It's a great question, but I want you to just sort of explain.
Let me tell you.
Yes.
Let me tell you what's going on. The defense is making the point they've made, I think, and I guess it hasn't been released yet. They've shown the video of that backpack sitting in the McDonald's, correct?
Yes.
You've seen that.
Yes.
So that backpack was in there for upwards of 10 minutes.
13 minutes.
13, even better, upwards of. So thank you. If that is the case, they're walking around. They did not think it was exigent circumstances under New York law, which, by the way, breaking news is different than federal. Which is the doctrine of inevitable discovery, blah blah blah. If that's the case, and if the judge finds that there was no exigent circumstance, there is a legitimate basis upon which that backpack search is suppressed. If that's suppressed, guess what's out the door?
Oh, the gun, the notebook. I mean, the 2 biggest things that we have. We haven't heard testimony from Officer Wasser yet, but Officer Wasser is the female officer who found the gun. And reportedly, if I recall correctly, she found the magazine and she was like, oh, maybe I should stop and get a warrant, right?
Correct. Because if that's the case, she too realized this is a problem under search and seizure law, under New York state law.
Okay, but I don't think she was thinking New York. She's Altoona, Pennsylvania police officer. I'm sorry. In my opinion, there's no way she was thinking about New York law, right? We haven't seen her on the stand, and if she was, that's going to be the defense gets her to admit that, that's horrible for the state, right? And she's a state witness.
I'm telling you, the state, people who were in the courtroom that I've talked to, besides you, I don't think quite understood what you understand, which is the defense is in the ball game for a suppression of that backpack in the state court case.
Yes. Yes, correct. But I think the issue is people. I mean, look, the state's done a great job of, the divide between Pennsylvania and New York, right? Like, they continuously ask the cops, these Pennsylvania cops, have you ever even been to New York? Have you ever even, and they're like, no, these, no disrespect. They're simple guys, right? I mean, very simple guys. But you know what I'm saying? They just don't, they're getting text messages. If you apprehend the shooter, I'll buy you a hoagie. Oh, a Wawa hoagie over like a promote. I mean, that's a simple man. So I think
I don't
what
know if
we're
I hadn't eaten lunch. There's a lot of things I would have done for a hoagie, but that's a
there
different
you go.
issue.
But I guess what the thing is, I think the question is, why are we watching all of this body cam footage from? There's 13 officers on the scene. Do we have to go through 13 officers and 13
Well,
different
you
angles?
want to make, if you're the defense and if you're the prosecution, I mean, remember, they both got different angles here. From the defense standpoint, they want to show there wasn't a single person, and you had a whole baker's dozen of them who thought that there were exigent circumstances, that there was something going on there. They didn't
And
have
I'll
it.
tell you that timeline. The two officers kind of, corner him. The defense is doing a great job of saying, no, you were blocking him, from getting out. And the one officer is like, I had to stand somewhere. Did you want us to hold hands and stand in front of him? Oh my goodness. I was like, woof. And so, they're talking to him. Everything's fine. He does give the fake ID, gives a fake name. When he finally moves the backpack after 13 minutes, he moves it only about a foot away from Mangione, and he places it behind him. And eventually, it gets further and further away, but that also takes time. The defense also made a point to say, did the suspect ever say, don't touch my backpack? Give me back that backpack. When they said, is there anything that, we should be aware of in here? He doesn't really say anything. I don't remember, Mark, if they asked him that before he invoked his right or after. I was saying I have to make a timeline here because he does invoke his right to remain silent after he's Mirandized. So that's another thing. I mean, I just think that this is not going to be as open and shut as everybody thinks.
I agree. I used to say that usually this is exalting form over substance. This is a legitimate issue. And we've already seen that this judge will rule for the defense if the law compels him to.
Right. Totally. And I think the last thing here, that's big for me, and I was talking to you about this, is they're called to the scene, right? The 911 call, they get this call. It's not she even said it's not really an emergency. I tried to call the non-emergency line. I don't know, but we think
To
it's
me, that is game over. I know. I mean, it's just I'm with you. It's not
yes.
an emergency.
Nope,
Well,
not an emergency. So wait, so hold on. Hold on, there's a question. Does the law of inevitable discovery not apply to the backpack? That was going to be no, Pennsylvania
it,
law technically can search after a detainment, but however, I think that what I was going to say is they're called to the McDonald's because they think he's the shooter, but he's arrested on false ID at first, right? Even though he's threatened saying, if you don't tell the truth, we're going to arrest you. He tells the truth. He still gets arrested. Then they search. Do you normally search on a false ID arrest? You know what I
no, and by the way, arguably on a false ID, yeah, it's a side out also sometimes. So I mean, there's all kinds of nuances here, but I'm telling you, going back, I'm like a dog with a bone. That tape of "it's not an emergency" from somebody in real time, you're hard pressed to now deem something after the fact with 2020 hindsight as an emergency.
Yeah, okay. I mean, right. And that's sort of what I said. I was like, this is huge because this is why he's called. They arrest him for something else.
Exactly.
Maybe they keep the forgery charge because he handed over the ID, but the false ID, I think that's questionable. That could be dropped. And then that is the whole reason that he has the charge for unlawful possession of a weapon, right? When they search the backpack, plus the strip
Exactly.
search. plus the people walking around the McDonald's. The defense is saying, hey,
The
you guys didn't even secure the perimeter and you're so scared, right?
Well, I mean, I think that's why you saw so many of these, what seems to be irrelevant, but are really relevant because you're showing a 360-degree view that this was not what the government is now trying to say it
The
was.
state,
It
yeah.
was,
And
yeah.
and just tell the chat really quick what you kind of told me, because I was like, Mark, do we literally have to go through 28 witnesses? They're doing one a
Oh,
day
yeah.
sometimes. Like
Oh
what?
yeah. By the way, if you're the defense, it's almost malpractice per se not to, because this is a criminal case. It's not a civil case. Civil cases, you could do that outside of the courtroom. Criminal case, you don't get that opportunity either by law, by procedure, or in outside of the courtroom. So it would be malpractice not to do what the defense is doing.
I guess I don't. I mean, I see on Judge Caro's schedule, he's got other hearings for Wednesday. They're never going to get. Why would they do? I don't understand that. I guess what if he saw 28 witnesses? Why would he not? You know,
Because, but like most judges, at a certain point, he's going to say he's going to sustain his own objection as cumulative, and then he's going to say, pick your best three or four, and then there's going to be an argument about that.
okay. And I just want to everyone in the chat. People keep asking Mark what he thinks his outcome is going to be. I'm not going to speak for you, but I think you've said it's not. The defense is there's an argument here, but it's going to depend on the judge, of course.
Correct, and there's an argument. It is normally, I would tell you, the mother of the judge hasn't been born that's going to grant this. I'm not going to go that far in this case. I think they're in the ball game.
Okay, well, I want to ask you a personal question because, and you don't have to answer it, obviously. I know that you know the Agnifilos. I mean, where are Luigi's?
Karen, by the way, Karen Agnifilo, in full disclosure, when she came out of the Manhattan DA's office, she worked for me.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, yeah, Karen
Oh,
worked for me.
oh, that's so. She's lovely. She's
She's
awesome.
wonderful.
I
She's
mean,
great. I kept trying to get her to come out of the office years ago. So
uh,
I take some credit for her present
yeah.
career, if you will.
Well, she's a class act. I mean, like I said, she had some witnesses kind of saying some things at her that I was like, oh, I don't know if I could sit there and do that. But I was going to ask you, and you may not know, and you may not be able to say. For me, I'm wondering, where are Luigi's parents? He seems like he comes from a good family, a good home. Where are they? I
You'll
mean,
see them. You'll see them when it counts. You'll see them.
okay, because
There's a calculation there and a reason, I'm sure. I mean, I don't want to speculate. I haven't talked to anybody about it, but I know what I would be doing, and they're doing what I would be doing.
okay, because of the media frenzy, maybe.
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is make them a focus. You don't want to kind of unnecessarily divert from what you're trying to accomplish, which is to the suppression.
Okay, and I don't know if you saw this, but I was live tweeting. You saw my live tweets, but when they asked him like his mom's information, he only knew her phone number. He didn't know her address, and I was like, that is really strange. I don't know, which maybe could help the defense. Like, what is this kid doing? He doesn't know his own. I mean, that's weird things. And then I looked up Sam Dawson. Oh, dang it, where did he go? Oh no, he probably just got a call. But Sam Dawson, guys, the name he used for the bus ticket. Hopefully, Mark will jump right back. Oh, there he is. Okay, good. Did you get a call?
So I missed the last part.
I was saying
Can you hear
there
me?
is.
Hold on.
Okay. He's so funny.
I'm
No, we heard you.
There you go. Okay.
Okay.
Now
Yeah,
and they're calling me from downstairs. I've got to go. I got to pull time. So.
Okay. Okay. So we'll just really quick, like we found out things which I was shocked, right? Bus ticket name, Sam Dawson. That's the character, the Sean Penn movie, I Am Sam. What the hell? The USB drive on the necklace, Mark. This is so mysterious.
You stay tuned. There's other stuff coming.
Oh my gosh, this is okay. All right. Well, I chat, stay where you are. I'm gonna dissect some things, and then yeah. Well, Mark, thank you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. I'll
Your
be
time is
back next
valuable.
week, Lauren. Thank you.
Okay, we'll do this next week. All right. Everyone say
Thanks.
bye to Mark. Bye, Geragos. Thank you.
Bye.
I'll kick you out. Okay. He really is a busy guy. I know he has so much going on, but he will definitely be back because his input is really invaluable. But I think that I can sort of, because I had an earlier discussion with him, I can sort of share with you guys you know, some of the things that we spoke about that obviously take a little bit longer to explain. But somebody had asked, let me find it. Well, first this, does Mark know why Thomas Dickey, Luigi's Pennsylvania lawyer, attended court for a few days? And yes, because these charges, he's Luigi's defense attorney for the Pennsylvania charges. So they told him after, I think it was right day 2, he didn't have to be there anymore. But I think it was good that he was there. Again, when this case is tried in Pennsylvania, Thomas Dickey is his attorney, and these charges came from the DA in Blair County, Pennsylvania. So, you know, it made sense that he should be there. Sorry, my husband just texting me. Not yet. So, okay. And then there was another question that I wanted to. Okay. If the arrest was made in Pennsylvania, how does New York law apply? And this is the complicated part. I think this is kind of why we're here and why the defense is making such a case for this. If you heard what I said at the beginning of the stream, or maybe when I was talking with Mark, the reason that the police were called to this McDonald's is because somebody thought they saw the New York CEO shooter. They weren't called to the McDonald's for the specific reasons that Mangione was arrested for, right? They weren't called there because you know, he had a false ID that he gave. They weren't called there because he flashed a weapon that was unlawful. You know, that wasn't why. They were called there for a New York City case. And again, you have Luigi sitting there, and if you're watching this body cam footage, and again, we've watched it for 3 days now, you'll see the whole reason Luigi was, remember the perp walk they did? I mean, they walked him like he was freaking Charles Manson, with the mayor behind him, all this stuff. Obviously, his face was splashed everywhere, all over the news. He was treated a bit differently than many suspects that we see. And listen, he also was a fugitive, right? So allegedly. So there are reasons. It was a very brazen killing. It was, I get it. There are reasons, but there's a good argument to say you guys treated him very, very differently. So with that being said, you're at this McDonald's. You think you have the suspect. And one officer, Officer Detweiler, actually said he walked in, and we know that, from body cam footage and information, he asked the suspect to remove his mask. And Officer Detweiler said right away, he said, I knew it was him right away. Okay, if you know it's him right away, then everything after that doesn't necessarily make sense. Because again, they didn't move the backpack. I mean, I am a journalist and I'm a lay, I'm a podcaster. I knew he had a backpack. Right? I'm not trying to insult anybody. I'm not trying to insult the police, nothing like that. But the backpack was sitting there for 13 minutes. You've got a guy, you say that you're scared for your life, you're scared for the people there, whatever. You don't move the backpack for 13 minutes. You don't secure the perimeter. You've got a suspect like this. He's sitting back. I mean, it's kind of like you're not acting like you should act if you might catch a fugitive that's on the run for this horrible alleged crime. So then you have the fact that he handed them a false ID, the Mark Rosario ID. And you know what? I can pull some of that up right now. So once dispatch gets this ID, they are trying to run it and they're trying to find a match for it. And if they can't find a match, that's when they get, hold on, sorry, I'm looking for the ID because I did, there we go. If they don't get a match for it, then they're like, okay, something's wrong. This is probably fake. Talk to your dude here, okay? So that's when they go over to him. And I'll look at these questions, sorry, in 1 second. That's when they go over to him and they say, look, this is an investigation. If you lie to us about who you are, we're going to arrest you. And that's when Luigi says, okay, my name's Luigi Mangione. My date of birth is XYZ. He doesn't lie anymore. And they say, why'd you lie? Why'd you do that? And he's like, I guess I shouldn't have done it. So, I want to say they stand up, they frisk him. He gets Mirandized, and then eventually he gets cuffed and detained. So they arrest him anyway. And during that time, they do another frisk of him. And they find that jar of peanut butter. He had 3 layers on. They find a knife, which he tells them about. He says, actually, I have a knife on me. And then again, the backpack still next to him. It's still very close to him. They don't move that backpack, gosh, I think it's finally moved in the corner at 9:53. I think officers got there at 9:27 maybe. So, it's all just, it's backwards there. And again, going back to this question, New York law applies because they were there for the New York shooter. They end up doing a search and seizure based on a false ID arrest. They do a strip search, right, of him, an in-depth search of him based on a false ID arrest, which you heard, Mark, that's not normal. That's not super normal. And there's so much more. I've done a lot of videos on this. If you go through some of the daily podcasts that I've done here, I reiterate a lot of this stuff and a lot of stuff that we heard in court. So I think, that's the thing. And then seeing the evidence that we saw, there are little labels as well at the bottom of the evidence that they collected in Altoona, and it says NYPD. So a lot of this seems to be intermingled. And at first I was like, this is crazy. I actually went into this week being like, this is so crazy. Of course they're going to let the backpack in. It makes no sense. The laws in Pennsylvania are very clear, XYZ. That's why this whole thing has been so fascinating to me, because they're not as clear when it really comes down to it. And it sounds crazy. I know how crazy it sounds. It's so hard to explain, because if I tried to tell this to like a mom at school who doesn't really know anything about the case or the law, or she'd be like, well, I don't understand. It's all pretty cut and dry. It's not. All right. Now let me just look at these questions really quick. The whole sickness issue. You mean for today? I think he was just sick. I mean, MDC is a nasty place. And I'm not just saying this, there's something going around. My whole family was sick. I don't think it was strategic or anything. I think he was just sick. Did I get a good look at the checklist? Some people report an intel check on one of the days. Could it have been hotel? Are you talking about the piece of paper? If you're talking about the piece of paper that was found in his pocket, that was so crazy, because I was staring at it and I was trying to type, and they only had it on the screen for probably 30 seconds. And it was so weird. It was like dates. It said like 12/8, 12/9, and his arrest was 12/9. So it said things like hot meal, water bottle. Like it was very, very strange. So I caught a couple things, but I didn't catch everything. So I was disappointed that I didn't. And, I haven't had a chance to look to see what other people caught. So if you guys know what other people caught on that list, let me know. When will the judge make a final decision on this? Ooh, that's tough. I don't know. Some people were like, oh, do you think he'll make a decision from the bench? And I was like, I don't know. I don't think that's happening. Now I can unequivocally say there's no way. Too many witnesses, too many moving parts for him to make a decision from the bench, in my opinion. I think there's no way. When do you think the actual trial would be? Would it take years? Well, since Luigi has a state case that we're talking about right now and also a federal case. His lawyers are arguing they want the federal case first because there's more at stake, because the DOJ claims they're going to push for the death penalty. So because death is on the table, the state's like, and this was a while ago when they filed this motion, but they were like, no, we're not giving up our strategy here. We're not going to go first. The DOJ has to go first. The federal case has to go first. So we'll see. Also, in federal cases, technically I think your right is to go to trial 70 days from your arraignment. Obviously, this case is complex, so I think without a doubt, federal case will be first unless some kind of deal is taken. But definitely this won't take years. I don't think it'll take years. I don't think so. What else was in the unsealed evidence? So we saw, I think, again, the biggest thing here is his clothes, the note, all those photos that were entered into evidence when he undressed and everything that was found on his person. And, we haven't seen the contents of the backpack. So Officer Wasser, the female officer who searched the backpack, when we get to see her body cam footage, that's going to be more very critical evidence and new, because like I said, we've been sitting here watching all the same videos, same things for the most part the whole week. So I'm interested in that. And then what else was there? Yeah, it was mainly all of that stuff plus the body cam, and which again is super important. My understanding is that the courts are split on whether it should count as PA. Right. Yeah. So listen, I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but I yes, can imagine it's split. And that's why we're here having these hearings. Absolutely. Can you talk about Mangione's psychology and his general manner, excuse me. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a doctor. I am an observer. And I don't want to mispronounce your name, but Celine, if you have X, go to my X at Conlin_Lauren. I was live tweeting, and a handful of those live tweets, I do comment on Luigi's mannerisms and sort of how he was acting and what he was doing. He sits in between Karen and Mark Agnifilo. He is very involved. I mean, he is intently listening to these officers. He's looking at them. He'll be looking up at the screen, taking notes. When his attorneys are cross-examining the witnesses, he looks over a lot. He confers, I've noticed, with Karen Agnifilo the most. I see him always whispering to her. She'll smile, she'll talk with her hands, and he'll nod his head. He'll take some notes, and then he'll go back to looking up at the camera or, watching what's going on. He does like a head tilt a lot. I've noticed he's like this, and he's always making those like faces like that. I noticed that. I found that to be interesting. Let me see. And Sal, you say, maybe it's because I'm not a lawyer, but I fear there'll be so much legal and jurisdictional intermingling, the case might be dropped. No, the case definitely won't be dropped. Definitely not. If anything, I could see maybe them working out some kind of plea, maybe, but I don't know. Sometimes I think just because of the attention this case has gotten and the amount of support that Luigi has gotten, I always think about juror or jury nullification, where that's when a jury comes in and they're like, we acknowledge that the defendant did this, but we don't think the punishment is worth the crime. I think, that there's a possibility there with the New York jury. In terms of the NYPD blue label by Luigi's property, was Jacob Kaplan implying that Altoona arrived in NYC around 10 a.m.? That was shady. No, he was not implying that. I think he was implying that the investigation in Pennsylvania was tied to New York more than they are letting on. That's what I took from it. Someone else might take something differently from it, but the whole time they're just the defense is trying to say, no, guys, no, this is New York. This is New York. Because the more they push for New York, the more the New York search and seizure law would apply. And that's what they want. And that would mean backpack is inadmissible. So Caro already said he wouldn't stay the state case. Okay. I thought he was the trial judge. Is that what you're referring to? Let me know. I'm not sure. Will more evidence be shared with the press, or was that the one drop of it all? No, I think so. He initially said that he was going to seal it until the trial, but listen, I think the press still is entitled to an argument before he makes a decision. So I think that will be happening. But like, I also get it. I do get it to a degree. However, there is the press argument that this evidence was played in open court, so it should be privy to the public. There's, that's my problem. I feel like I always really understand both sides of the argument. I'm always like, oh, that's a good point. Oh yeah, now that's a good point. It's tough. Lorena from Rolling Stone had quite a few notes on the, okay, I'll look that up. Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm going down. Oh, yeah, I did see. I didn't know if that was Karen's mom or Mark's mom, but I did see that she was in court, and I think she was with the Agnifalo's daughter. So, yes. I'm not sure why. I've noticed just from being in court a lot, it doesn't really matter if it's a high profile case. There are people who just really enjoy going and sitting through court hearings, and it's just a hobby. There's a bunch of people that I met who were like, no, we just like to do this. And I mean, maybe I don't want to speak for anybody, but maybe she's proud of her daughter and son-in-law for the work they do on the case, and she wanted to observe. I don't know, or son, if he gets a plea deal, would that not hurt his state case? That's a good question. Technically, it shouldn't, because they are completely separate, and you've got a separate judge, you've got a separate investigation, you've got separate laws that apply, right? Everything is separate. So I would think not, but then again, right? Everybody is a human being. They hear things. That's the whole reason why the state's like, no, we don't want to go before federal, because they're going to know our strategy. So that's a good question. Or could it help? Because, depending on what the plea would be, maybe he gets certain charges dropped, right? Like, and that would help the federal. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Cop talking. More likely than not, he has a handgun. He had a checklist for today. Tomorrow, he's supposed to do an intel check-in. Something about a survival kit. He went to yes, yeah, he did go to Best Buy. They said they saw like a receipt, and he had USB drives and a digital camera or something like that. So that was interesting. What did he need the digital camera for exactly? I mean, I don't know. There's so much mystery around this case, and I guess around Luigi's plan for after, allegedly. I'll keep saying allegedly. And that's why it's just so interesting at times. Again, I know I've been complaining about just the different angles of body cam footage and how repetitive it is, but once they drop that Easter egg, you're like, oh, and then they get you for a minute. They get you really paying attention. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Those are really good notes. Were you there in court? Okay, so no. Okay, sorry. Kara was a state court judge. He did not. Oh. Thank you. Okay, I did not know you were saying that. Oh, he did? He denied? Really? I did not know that. That is, I don't know. So I had this judge. If you guys have been in my live streams, my old ones, like Sal knows, I had Caro for jury duty. I'm doing that face from Sex and the City. Remember, it was like, yeah, that's all I'll say. Yeah. I really hope that Caro won't sweep the lack of credibility and pure incompetence from the Altoona cops under the rug and let the appellate courts handle it later. I mean, look, I back the blue, but there were some moments where you're not wrong. I mean, the thing that got me is when Karen Agnifilo was like, so you guys like didn't think like, there's an officer cleaning up his McDonald's wrappers, like, Luigi's sitting there wiping his mouth with napkins and stuff. There's like DNA all over it. I go back to like me being a journalist. I'm like, ooh, he left a water bottle in between the alleyway of the Hilton and like 56th Street or 54th Street, whatever. They got that. They can run the DNA there with like whatever. And it's like, if this is him, which is what Detweiler said, Detweiler literally was like, without a doubt, I knew it was him. Cool. Then collect some DNA evidence, bro. Like, what? So yeah, that was weird. And then, there was just some moments where actually it was really Detweiler. He was like, he said something to Karen. She just made a comment and she was like, if I'm not being clear, let me know. I can rephrase it for you. And he's like, you're doing great. I was like, oh, okay, that was a little rude. And she was very classy about it. She was just like, he was the same one that said, that was funny. He said, or they asked about mask policies and they're like, what are your mask policies in Altoona? And he's like, we don't wear them. We have antibodies. And it was just so funny. And I'm like, I think the point of that was, if you wear a mask in Altoona, you kind of stick out. So Luigi wearing the medical mask in the McDonald's, like he was sticking out like a sore thumb. No, and I'm not saying that they didn't collect DNA. Oh, hi, Bob. Guys, Bob Mott is the best. Defense Diaries. We love him so much. I'm not saying they didn't collect DNA. I'm saying they didn't collect the McDonald's wrappers as evidence and the napkins. They just threw it away, which was shocking to me. If they knew it was the New York CEO shooter, I would think you would do everything in your power to preserve everything that he touched, everything that he has. So what do I think of Karen, Mark, and Jacob's styles of cross? Do you think they're strong compared to the cross prosecution? And yes, thank you, Sal. Like this live stream, we're trying to amp up this channel. We're really trying to grow it. And I think it has legs. So I had the pleasure of hearing Mark during the Diddy trial, and Mark is a very special defense attorney. And I say this because he's very skilled, but he comes across as like the dad next door that you go over and you're like, oh, hey, I don't know, like, can you help me move this couch? I need some help. And Mark's like, oh, no problem. And, you want a beer? Like, it's just, he's very likable and he's very relatable. And where at Karen, her strategy is interesting. So she's also, I want to say she's similar because she's likable, but she's definitely punchier where, and she's more conversational. So sometimes I do feel like you really gotta pay attention with Karen because she's so conversational that you might miss like a little moment that she's kind of digging it in, and then so Kaplan, I felt like he definitely will keep you awake because he's loud, but I did feel like he was definitely the most hostile of all the three. And I just think that when a defense attorney kind of comes out of the gate being hostile, and I don't know if that's his intention, because sometimes, I'll get accused of smiling when something is really sad. And I just talk like this, like my face just looks kind of positive. It just, whatever, I'm not smiling. It's not my intention. So maybe that's just him. He's just, he talks loud. He's kind of aggressive. And that's sort of how it comes across. But to me, it kind of came across like, all right, you're being slightly hostile and you don't have to do that right out of the gate because, that makes the witnesses sort of shut down and not really want to talk to you or kind of work with you. But like, this is my opinion. So, yeah, but he was good. Jacob Kaplan was good. You talked about McDonald's. Oh, Mangione's plans for the next days after McDonald's. That's interesting. Do you have any thoughts? I mean, we just saw like the bus ticket, Philadelphia to Pittsburgh. I mean, he had 2 bags that he paid for. It was a carry-on that he had, and then like another bag that he would put away. So he had a lot of stuff. Clearly he went to Best Buy, he got a digital camera, USB drives. I mean, he's wearing one around his neck. And you guys heard Mark, there's more evidence like that to come, like really mysterious evidence. So I don't know. So if you just joined, Rosie, it's funny that you asked that, because I asked that because they were not in court, and I wanted to know if Mark knew anything about that, because he knows the Agnipholos clearly, and I get it. He can't share everything with me. That's fine. And I don't want to cause any problems, of course, but I was wondering. And he just said, we'll get there when we get there, but right now there are reasons they're not there. And I kind of guessed it, right? Like sorry, can you guys hear that? One of my kids is just yelling, not like in a bad way, but let me know if you can hear it. I always wondered if you can hear background noise of my children. But I get it. Like, think about if his parents showed up. Nobody's actually seen his parents in person, and how much attention the family gets, and how all of a sudden the headlines, right, from our favorite outlets here, wouldn't be me. I wouldn't do this on LA Mag. I swear. I'm not like that, or I try not to be like that. But it would literally be like, Luigi Mangione's mom, I don't know, was wearing like a Cartier bracelet, and she looked like I don't know, whatever. You know what I'm saying. It would just be like all eyes on them. So you don't hear, okay, thank you. You don't hear the children. Great. Thank you for confirming. So no, they weren't there. I guess they'll be there. I'm assuming that his family is helping pay for these very expensive attorneys. I know he has a crazy legal defense fund, but his family has money as well. And I don't know if you guys weren't here. It was interesting to me, Mangione, when he's being questioned by the police, they asked for an emergency contact, and he gives his mother's name and her phone number, but he's like, I don't know her address. I was like, okay. So, let me see. Oh, sorry. How is Caro in court? Does he lean pro-prosecution? Can you feel his vibe around Luigi's defense? Does he pick up the good moments from defense? So this is an interesting question for me, because my experience with Caro previously, which I sort of touched upon, I had him for jury duty. And he was very protective of the defendants. So one guy did the whole, I want to get out of jury duty thing. And he was an old guy too. He was probably not like super old, but he's probably like 70. And he just said, they asked, is there any reason why you think that you couldn't be fair and impartial here? And this guy was like, yeah, me and my mom were mugged. Like, we got the shit kicked out of us, whatever, this year. I don't know. It was like 15 years ago or something. And he's like, I just look at these defendants and I think they're guilty. Well, Judge Caro, I was shocked. He freaked out at this guy. He literally was like, how dare you say that? If you can't be here for a criminal jury selection, then you should have chosen civil. And I'm like, wait, we can choose? I didn't think we could choose. I thought we just got so he's yelling at him, and he's like, you need to go, go right now. It was super awkward. I actually had never seen a judge yell at someone who just made an excuse as to why they wanted to get out of jury duty. So that was shocking. And then my other experience with Caro is the crypto kidnappers case, which, if you follow me, I had been covering that this summer. They actually have a hearing next week, but I was shocked this summer when they had a bail hearing. And these two guys, they're called the crypto kidnappers because allegedly they kidnapped and tortured this guy, kept him in a mansion until he gave this townhouse downtown, until he gave his Bitcoin password over. And the state, we haven't seen any of this evidence, but the state allegedly had evidence of them cutting this guy with a chainsaw, peeing on him, putting him in a cage, all this stuff. And Caro gave them a bail package. And I was like, and it's not just that, they're loaded. They're Bitcoin guys. I think one of the guys had a private jet, flight risk. And Caro was like, later. So with all that being said, I did feel like going into this. Oh, and guys, don't you remember September? Judge Caro dismissed the first-degree murder charge as it relates to terrorism with Luigi. So now he's just facing second-degree murder in New York. That was a huge win for the defense. So yes, coming into this week, I was like, he definitely is, I don't want to say pro-defense, but clearly he's very, very fair to the defense. And a lot of people who were up in arms about the first-degree murder charge being dropped totally understand that, because most people are like, well, wait a minute. From what we know now, it seems premeditated. It seems like he planned it, whatever. And maybe that's true. But in New York, it's much different than every other state. In New York, generally, first-degree murder is reserved for like civil servants, like politicians, cops, etc. So I understood why that was dropped. I always thought the terrorism thing was a stretch. That's me. And listen, I'm not trying to help anyone out. If you know me, this is how I talk about cases. I'm not talking about them as people. I'm just talking about them, from the perspective of getting a fair trial and like whatever. So I wasn't super surprised when he dropped the first-degree murder charge as an act of terrorism. So yeah, I came into this being like, oh yeah, Caro, he pays attention to the defense. But I felt like this week, as many great points that they have made so far, it's tough because I felt like the defense was losing him a little bit based on playing the same footage over and over, stopping, starting, stop and start. And it didn't seem like they had edited this footage. We kind of had to wait for them to fast forward, to go back. So it kind of felt like he was getting a little frustrated in a way. Yeah. So it's, I don't know. It's tough to say, but overall, I would say he's a fair judge. He's just very, he's kind of like a curmudgeon, I guess. Like, just has no patience, no humor, no, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. A quick recap of what Mark said for those who just came in. Yeah, I mean, Mark basically kind of reiterated what I guess I've been saying after he got off. Just the fact that this is not going to be open and shut. It really centers around the fact that he brought this up first. The backpack was left on the floor or wherever, right next to Luigi, for 13 minutes. The officers are standing there, talking to him, claiming that, oh, I knew it was him right away. Okay. And yes, I feared for my safety. You feared for your safety, but the backpack's on the floor. Nobody moves it. Nobody does anything about it. And then the whole New York versus Pennsylvania, why they could push to apply the New York law in this case, based on the fact that they were called there for the CEO shooter. He was arrested on the false ID charge, even though he told the truth after they threatened him. And that was the whole basis of them searching the backpack. So it's complicated, I guess, but it's also, it's complicated. I think it's complicated. That it just is. Do you know if it's common that both sides end with oral arguments and suppression hearings? I feel like the defense needs to win Caro over more. Yeah, I mean, no, I think they just need to sort of get organized with their crosses. And I don't think that their crosses need to go as long, because they're making their points within 20 minutes, in my opinion. And then the oral arguments, this is a hearing. This is not like I don't know, actually. I think that they won't have any type of summation. I think if anything, they might file a motion, but we'll see. I'm honestly not certain. I've attended certain pretrial hearings where they did get an oral argument at the end, but I'm not sure, because this is just going on for so long, and Caro kind of seems like he wants to, get things moving. So we'll see. Will I be back next week or forever? How much longer these go? I mean, yeah, so I was assigned to cover it this week. I'll be back Monday. I guess I'll just see. So if they need me to cover other things, then I'll switch over. But I think I'll be on this for the time being. Although I might want to dip out early Monday, because Terry Rozier is being arraigned, and they have a status hearing in his case on Monday in the Eastern District of New York, which is Brooklyn. That's in the afternoon. So maybe I can just pop over there because I have been reporting and heavily invested in that case too. I'm very fascinated with that. And I would like more details there. Dude, I came into this not prepared that this would last a long time. I mean, we were told it would last several days. So I was thinking, okay, cool. It'll go Monday into Tuesday. Now I'm like, is this going to go the whole month? Because they're claiming they have 28 witnesses for the state. We're on 6. Okay. That's crazy. That's insane. I mean, the Detweiler took all day. So off topic, what's the update in the Blackburn indictment? It's still sealed, apparently. Are we talking about Tyrone? Yeah. Sorry, let me know. I'm like, you're really jumping around. If you're talking about Tyrone, let me know. I love all the questions. It's really fun. And again, I'm not a lawyer, so don't, this is just my opinion and based what I've seen in court. No, so if you're talking about his criminal, the criminal indictment for allegedly running over the process server, New York sucks sometimes with this stuff. So yeah, it's still sealed. And I think, you know what? I can actually look this up right now. What did I think of the 2 Pennsylvania COs that took the stand and what they said? The guy, Thomas Rivers, the first CO with the accent, he had like this attitude, this like pompous, like, I don't care. And he just got called out with the defense. They're like, oh yeah, you don't care, but you're sitting there talking to Mangione all day, but you don't care. You're telling him about like drugs you did, hallucinations you had, all this stuff, but right, you don't care. And then the other guy, he actually said that, Luigi just told him about having a ghost gun, which is wild. And Agnifilo was like, so he just like blurted it out to you? Like he just told you he had a ghost gun? And he's like, yeah. I mean, okay, that seems crazy to me, but I don't know Luigi's mindset. I don't know, but that does seem crazy. You're just sitting there. And just going back to this whole thing about them making this just very, very different than other cases. Usually when you arrest someone, they sit in the county jail until, whatever. And they moved him to a maximum security level jail, maximum security, which is, I'm sorry, it was a prison, not even, what am I saying? It was a prison. So he was a pretrial detainee at a level 4 max security prison. The highest level is 5. That's crazy. That's super rare. So just take that into consideration as well. Just something else for the defense to use. But yeah, so anyway, thanks everyone. I'm kind of getting hungry. 6:45 here. So I'll be back. I'll start to do more lives. I mean, next week I will be at the hearing. So stay here for daily videos. I'll do a video every day, breaking things down. I'll definitely do more lives. We'll see how the schedule is next week. But yeah, subscribe here. Go to my Twitter. That's where I put everything. I'll announce anything that I'm doing or whatever this channel is doing. And yeah, but I'm thankful that you all came and you all hopefully took something out of this. But yeah, just know that it's not going to be as open and shut as everybody thinks. But anyway, guys, thank you for listening. And thank you, Sal. Thanks for being here. Thanks everyone for your questions. They were really awesome. All right. Have a great weekend. Like and subscribe because I'm putting out content all the time. Thanks, Fastball. You had great questions. I really appreciate it. All right. Bye, guys. See you later.